Max Holloway might go down as the most likable fighter of all time, but more than that, there are a total of 2 featherweights across all of MMA history that you can argue are better than this guy. One of the greatest of all time, with longevity, skill, and the resume to back it up. Today I want to go through his title reign, the Blessed era, where he was the measuring stick for elite level MMA. Simply put by the man himself,
if you think you're the best, come fight Bless.
Max got his first shot at gold against everyone's favorite cage kicker, Anthony Showtime Pettis. A lot of people don't like interim belts, and they're certainly overdone nowadays, but generally speaking, I personally don't really care about what asterisks you want to put around the words world champion. This felt like a breakout fight for Max, one of the first big examples of him melting people in the cage with pure volume. He showed the level of striking it reached, and now he had a golden ticket to the main event against, at the time, the greatest featherweight to ever do it. To me, there's 2 Jose Aldos. Pre-McGregor was an absolute phenom, 25-1 and seemingly untouchable. Post-McGregor went from elite to very, very good. Looking back on it, this fight is a terrible matchup for Aldo. Striker that fights long, never gets tired, gets your timing down fast, and is virtually impossible to knock out while throwing about 5 million strikes a fight. Max went into this fight looking to drag Aldo into deep waters and overwhelm him with volume. I think Rogan one time mentioned that Aldo is the greatest fighter of all time for 2 rounds. Connor's assertion that Jose was more of a power and speed guy rather than precision and timing, I always thought was very on the money, and I think the Max fights were another good example of that. Max's style feels like an avalanche, and once it gets rolling, there is no stopping it. Max pushed the pace, took Aldo to the 3rd, scored a huge knockdown, and got him out of there before the championship rounds. Max Holloway, the guy that got out-grappled by Conor McGregor back in the day, is now the featherweight champion. Max is a good example of the old adage getting 1% better every day, and here he was on top of the world. Of course there'd be a rematch. Aldo deserved it, and Holloway seemed more than willing to take the fight again. I can't really name a single difference between the first fight and the second fight. Max stayed composed for about a round, let Aldo burn some gas, and then put a pace on him that would break him in the exact same round as the first fight. You knew it was over when Aldo shot. Max's style is so damn annoying in that regard. I mean, a lot of guys shoot just because they're tired of defending or getting peppered with shots over and over. He never stops throwing, not even on the ground, and he never gets tired. As a result, Max took home the 2-0 against Jose Aldo and cemented himself as an all-time featherweight in his own right. I really think Max wins this matchup 9 or 10 times out of 10. Like I said, I think he's a terrible matchup for Aldo. But now, defeating Aldo opened up the door for a list of featherweights waiting for their chance. I once called Brian Ortega the submission zombie, and I stick by that. I have never seen a man take so many punches and still try to not look fazed by it. Some of the best jiu-jitsu in MMA, with one of the greatest coaches of all time, this would not be an easy defense for Max. At least we didn't really figure it would be, and then Max put on one of the largest striking differentials in UFC history. The Aldo fights showed Max's stamina and volume. The Ortega fight showed his timing and accuracy. This guy was giving Brian striking lessons mid-fight. If you saw that in a movie, you'd throw your drink at the screen, and here we are in real life. It would not mark the last time that Max would do some otherworldly shit in the cage. But yeah, after a solid round 3 from Ortega, Max became that meme of the guy sitting forward in his chair, causing Brian to miss badly for most of this round. Round 4 was the avalanche finally catching up to Ortega, and this fight would have to be stopped in the corner in between rounds. Max was the best in the world at this time. The dude went from being subbed by Poirier and taken down by Conor, all the way to dominating the featherweight GOAT and setting striking records against top contenders. He'd take a short notice fight at lightweight, still wouldn't be knocked out somehow, and then met Frankie Edgar for the next defense of his title. This is another matchup where it's really tough to find a path to victory for Edgar. I mean, was Frankie going to take Max down and hold him down? I doubt it. Was Frankie going to hit Max with one punch or somehow out-cardio him through 5 rounds? I doubt it. God bless Frankie Edgar, but this did not seem like a fair fight on paper. It's crazy this dude made his run in a weight class 10 pounds heavier than this, because against Max, who's a featherweight, Frankie basically had to be nose to nose with Max in order to land punches. I mean, the range was Holloway's friend, and he knew it too. And goddamn, is it physically possible to take down this version of Max Holloway. Guy has elite footwork, elite balance, and elite timing. Getting him on the ground has got to be a nightmare for people. Max would bag all 5 rounds on 2 judges' cards and take home the 45 belt once again. By this point, Holloway had reached undeniable pound-for-pound status. But in one of the biggest Frazier Ali moments in MMA history, another pound-for-pound great was on the rise as well. Max would drop the belt to Volk in Fight 1, couldn't get the nod from the judges in Fight 2, in a fight I personally think he won, but after Fight 3 that just doesn't really matter anymore. But Max's spot at the top of the rankings remained undeniable, especially after beating Yair and removing Calvin Kattar from this plane of existence. He would finally make his move to lightweight with an all-time performance against Justin Gaethje. After seeing his cuts from featherweight, this might be the revitalization his career needs. They say no normal human has a second prime, but I think we can agree that Max is no normal human.